Hey everyone, in this video let's talk about greetings in German, and we'll cover the beginner content that you need to know as an absolute newbie, and later on in the video we'll also look at some more advanced concepts including regional greetings and many versions, how to say basically hello and goodbye in German. So let's look first at the four main greetings that you need to know as a beginner. And we start with the formal greeting, which is Guten Tag, good day, Guten Tag. And we can say the same thing also in informal, which is Hallo, that's hello, Hallo. And you might already know, but the formal greeting is, for example, if you talk towards someone you don't know or a person of higher seniority, like your teacher or your boss, right? And informal greeting you'll use towards your friends, family members, and these days, frankly, in most situations of everyday life, we use the informal language because it feels just more personal and more close to each other, right? So as long as you're not worried about offending someone, the informal version is what you're going to use more often. And we have the same as well for goodbyes. So for example, the formal farewell here is Auf Wiedersehen, and that means literally until we see us again. That is Auf Wiedersehen. And then we have also the informal farewell, which is Tschüss, bye, Tschüss. All right, and now we can also actually greet someone with a name, and that changes a bit depending on whether it's formal or informal. So if we have the formal greeting, we'll say Guten Tag, Herr oder Frau, and then the name. So for example, if I think about greeting my elementary school teacher back when I was a child, I would say Guten Tag, Herr Bergamin. And at the end of the class, I might say, Auf Wiedersehen, Herr Bergamin, something like this. And then we have the same thing with informal, but here we just use the first name and no Mr. or Mrs. And we have, for example, Hallo Sie, if I want to greet my wife. Hello and then first name. Hallo Marco. And we do the same with goodbye, and here is just Tschüss, Tschüss Sie, or Tschüss Marco. All right, and then I think there is one more thing that beginners should know that is different greetings depending on the time of day. And we'll just look at some basic ones. Fortunately, there are not really that many in German. And we'll start in the morning, and the greeting here we use is Guten Morgen, good morning, Guten Morgen. Basically, the meaning is exactly what you would expect from the English translation. We use this from the time we get up until roughly noon. Some people say maybe only until 10, but I think it's fine to use until 12 or until lunch, whenever that is. And then at that time, we'll just say Guten Tag or Hallo, the common greeting that you can use any time of the day. And then in the evening, roughly when it gets dark, starting at 6 or 7, you can then start saying Guten Abend, good evening, Guten Abend. And then the last thing you need to know is actually more of a farewell or goodbye, and that is Gute Nacht. That means good night, Gute Nacht. And we'll usually say that just when someone goes to bed, or when we know that someone will do that very soon and we don't see them before they go to bed. So it's the same as good night in English, right? And then here now, let's also combine this quickly with names. So for example, we could say Guten Morgen, Marco, or Guten Morgen, Herr Bergamin. And as you see, these greetings can be used informally with first name and formally with last name. So there is no kind of restriction for these time-specific words. The same goes with Gute Nacht, Guten Morgen as well. And now let's list them again. And I have a short task for you here, and that is to write into the comments below this video the correct greeting to me. You can also greet me by name if you want. First name is fine too. And just check what time it is and look and use the correct greeting to write a comment to this video, because practice makes perfect. And then with these time-specific greetings together and what we looked at before, this is the complete content that you need to know as a beginner. The basic greetings formally and informally, and the greetings depending on the time of day. And what we'll look at afterwards is more advanced topics, but if you're a curious beginner, it's also still, of course, totally fine to keep watching. So these topics, first one is, why have some greetings guten in front of it, like guten Tag, and others gute? That's, for example, gute Nacht. Yeah, that's something you need to be careful, and you can just memorize it, but I'll tell you a bit more why that is the case. Then we'll also look at different greetings and of course also farewells according to regions like North Germany, South Germany, Austria, Switzerland. And there are so many different ways to say hi and goodbye. Actually, in preparing for this video, I watched many other videos that cover these topics, and I covered all the possible ways that German people would greet and say goodbye in kind of a summary in this video. And that will be really interesting. Perhaps you live or are planning to go to a specific region in Germany, and this might be quite useful. But before we get into these advanced topics, I briefly want to mention that I recently started a new community on nowgerman.com, and you can see also my wife is there. She's currently at A1 level. So if you would like to study together with her and hopefully many other students soon, you can use this link here, skool.com/nowgerman. I'll also put it in the video description down below, and there you can exchange your questions and communicate with other learners as much as you want. And of course, I'll also share all my cheat sheets and other resources that I create for these videos in that community, so feel free to join. And now back to the topic of this video, the advanced topics. Let's first start with these greetings. Here you see again the time-dependent greetings, and you see Guten Tag, Guten Morgen, Guten Abend, but Gute Nacht. And if we split up these into individual words and look at it in a grammatical way, you see that Tag, Morgen, and Abend are masculine, and Nacht is feminine. And if you actually looked or watched my previous video where I talk about noun gender, you know that most time words are masculine, and Nacht is just one exception that is feminine. And in this case, they are masculine and they are in the accusative case. So we have Guten Tag, Guten Morgen, Guten Abend, because Guten is the accusative conjugation of gut. And then in accusative feminine, it is Gute Nacht. Okay, and so now you might wonder, why the hell is this in accusative? Isn't this just one thing? So it should be a nominative, no special declination. But in this case, it's actually an abbreviation, and the subject and also the verb of this whole statement are left out. If we look at this whole thing, how it should be all together, it is actually Ich wünsche dir einen guten Tag. I wish you a good day. And then we just say Guten Tag, good day, Guten Tag. But there is actually a whole sentence behind it that we abbreviate. Und einen guten Tag is in the accusative in this sentence. And that's why we have Guten Tag in accusative here. And then if we replace this with Gute Nacht, you see it's the same. It's just Ich wünsche dir eine gute Nacht. It's all in accusative declination. All right, and this is why it is in that way Guten Tag, Gute Nacht. And next, let's look at regional greetings. So I'll just give you all at once here. In the north of Germany, and especially around Hamburg, it's very common to say Moin, which also originally comes from good morning, but nowadays it's actually used at any time of the day, and it's more of an informal greeting, but depending on the context and how others behave, it might also be used in a formal setting. Then in the middle of Germany, we have Tag. That's a dialect form of the word Tag, that means day. And they also might use that usually in an informal setting, but more often in an informal setting, but sometimes perhaps also in a formal one. And then in the south of Germany, we have the formal greeting of Grüß Gott, which is greetings to God. Grüß Gott. And that is, of course, also related to their religion. The south of Germany and also Austria, they used to be even more and still are Catholic. And so some of these greetings are more related to religion. And the same is with the informal one, which is servus. That's actually from a longer Latin phrase originally. And basically it would translate to your humble servant, or I'm your humble servant. Servus. But today no one would think at all about this meaning. It's basically the same as hello in these regions in southern Germany and Austria. And then in Switzerland we have some special words as well. And here the formal way to say hello is grüezi, which means greetings, grüezi. And then the less formal way, the maybe most common one, is salut or salut. That also just means hello, salut. All right, and these are just a few examples. Each of these regions has many more ways to say hi and say goodbye, but they are definitely among the top ones. And now let's look at many other options for formal greetings. And here again we have Guten Tag, but this time combined with a title, not with a name. And you can do that in highly formal situations or when you meet a person of authority, such as, for example, let's say der Bundespräsident, which is the head of state in Germany. And so you can say, Guten Tag, Herr Bundespräsident. Or in the past, we had for 16 years in Germany the Chancellor Merkel. In German, the female version of Chancellor is Kanzlerin. And so you could say, Guten Tag, Frau Bundeskanzlerin. And so these are how you can greet people by title as well. But it's a bit rare and perhaps you won't meet it that often. And then the ones in the lines below, they are all individual ones. Ich grüße Sie, I greet you. Ich grüße Sie. Grüß Sie, yeah, I greet you. Grüß Sie, abbreviated without the I. And then seid gegrüßt, be greeted. Seid gegrüßt. The last one you would see perhaps more in a kind of medieval situation or role play or theatrical performance where you are talking to some kind of knight or you're pretending to be a knight. It feels a bit almost like a historical thing, but definitely every German person would understand it and it's grammatically correct. And then we also have informal greetings, and there are many, many more than here, but just as a few examples, you can say hello, or you can also say na, hey, na. And that's actually a question where you express curiosity. Often someone might say, na, wie geht's? Hey, how are you? And in this case, it's on its own also a valid greeting. And then you can say hi, as in English. You can say hoi, sali, salut. You can also start with just a question, wie geht's? What's up, wie geht's? Or in some regions of Germany, you might say Mahlzeit, mealtime, Mahlzeit. And is also particularly common around lunchtime because this is referring to mealtime. So it makes sense to use it then. And in the formal one, we had Grüß Sie, and the informal version of this is Grüß dich. That's also more in the southern areas of Germany and in Austria where you might hear this kind of greeting. And then we have also many ways to say goodbye in German. So for example, the classic one is Auf Wiedersehen, until we see us again. But you can also do it with a title in the same way that I told you about the formal greeting. So you could say Auf Wiedersehen, Frau Bundeskanzlerin, or Auf Wiedersehen, Herr Bundespräsident. Yes, and then when you actually have a phone call and you don't see each other, it doesn't make sense to say until we see us again, but you would say instead until we hear us again, and that is Auf Wiederhören. Auf Wiederhören, until we hear us again. And perhaps it's a bit less common because if you have a Zoom call where you actually have video and eye contact, you of course will still say Auf Wiedersehen, but if you have the pure audio call, you will say Auf Wiederhören. Then in the evening we have Gute Nacht. And in some areas closer to France, but actually also in Bavaria and in the south, people might say ade or adieu. And then we do also have informal greetings. And first, what we have here is a lot of variety of the word tschüss. And you can write this with only one S, then it's more like tschüss. Or you can even have E at the end, tschüssi. That's kind of a cute way to say it, maybe more a bit of a girlish way, but of course anyone can use that. And some might say it even shorter and just say tschü, tschü. And also we had a greeting earlier, Servus, the informal one in the south of Germany and Austria, and it can also be used to say goodbye to someone. And then the next line, there are a lot of terms that start with bis, such as bis später, bis nachher, bis bald. So bis just means until, and like in English you can combine it with many words, and in German we use it as a greeting. So for example, bis später means until later, bis später. Bis nachher means just until afterwards, bis nachher. Bis bald, until soon, bis bald. And some of them might have a bit of a different feeling as how soon you will meet someone. So for example, bis nachher or bis später, that means you will usually meet that person again on the same day, usually within a few hours, but can also be, for example, if you meet in the morning and then you see the person again in the evening, you would still find bis später to be okay. And if you have, for example, one person you see in a few minutes again, you can say bis gleich, which means until very soon, bis gleich. And also, yeah, so many other versions, I couldn't even list them all here. And another way to say goodbye is mach's gut. That means make it good. Mach's gut. Basically, it's just wishes for them to do well. And more in the south, but I think nowadays in all of Germany, people also say ciao, bye, ciao. And there are two ways to spell it. The modern way to spell it is T-S-C-H-A-U, but you can also just use the original Italian spelling and people know and understand it. And also according to the Duden, this is still correct. Ciao. All right. And then with this, actually, you know everything you need to know. If you are a beginner or you don't know all of this, it's really a lot. Just make sure you learn these 4 greetings and the time-dependent ones that I mentioned earlier as well, and you'll be good for everything, and you can look at all the other additional greetings when you have some additional time later on. And again, if you are looking for helpful resources and other students to interact and ask questions, and I'll also answer your questions there, feel free to join on Skool, on the new Now German community, and I'd love to see you there. All right, that was the video about greetings. Let me know if you have any questions, if you have any other topics that you'd like me to cover, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!